Hello guys, this is going to be a beginner-friendly crafting guide for Path of Exile 2, showcasing how can anyone gamble with one divine and have a chance of creating a god tier weapon that costs even more than 100 divines, why not? Before we begin, let's clarify why this is going to be so cheap. The more gambling and luck we add to our crafting equation, the cheaper the process becomes. But of course, in the long run, spending more currency to guarantee better results might be more profitable. The thing is that beginner players don't have the budget to even try more secure ways of crafting. So in this video I will showcase how to gamble with less than one divine, and if you are lucky enough, create a decent weapon that you can either equip or sell it for profit. As the title suggests, we are going to craft a bow, since prices for bows are very high right now. First, we will need to pick up a few white bows. Preferably, I want the Obliterator or the Warmonger. The price of white bows differs depending on the item level. The higher the item level, the higher the damage boost. You can see right now that item level 82 costs more than an item level 81, for example, so it is up to you if you want to spend more on this step. Keep in mind that you will need lots of these bows, sometimes even 10 won't be enough to pass the next step. Personally, I go for the cheap option with the lower item levels that will only cost around 2 to 5 exalted orbs. For the next step, we are going to upgrade them into magic. For this step, you will have to get a good stat if you want to continue. Once again, it is up to you how much you want to gamble. You can use the perfect transmutation orb, which will be more expensive but it will guarantee you a high tier roll, or go for the greater transmutation orb, which is much cheaper but expect lower tier rolls. To keep the costs low, I go for the greater transmutation. If we like the first stat, we continue by adding an augmentation orb. Again, the same principle applies. If you want, you can use the perfect orb, but it will cost you much more. Once again, I just went for the greater orb. For these two weapons, I failed to get both good stats, so I sold them and start over. This is the first step of the whole process, and you will need both good stats to move on to the next step. To be honest, one of them has to be the levels to all projectile skills. No matter how strong the rest of your stats would be by the end, not having levels to all projectile skills will make your weapon very weak. You can of course risk in trying to acquire it later on, but personally I prefer to have it right from the beginning. Now, you can minimize the gamble in this step by buying a magic bow that already has both good stats on it. For bows, I recommend searching for a magic bow that already gives you +3 levels to all projectile skills. I say 3 and not 4 because that would cost 1 divine or even more. In short, if you want, you can continue gambling during this first phase, and with a few exalted orbs you can even get a blue weapon that already costs a divine, or you can settle for a weaker option and skip the first gambling step. For this video, I went and bought a few bows that already had good stats. Accuracy rating isn't the best stat, if anything it's the worst out of our desired stats for this craft, but I'm okay with it because it will allow me to continue with these crafting steps. So for the next step, depending on which stat you already have, I recommend buying an essence that will upgrade your item to rare with a guaranteed good stat. Your options are either to give it attack speed or adding some more physical damage. For this weapon, I added physical damage with the greater essence of abrasion and gave me a tier 3 stat. Then we go back to gambling. At this point, I recommend using a greater exalted orb, since you are going to need a very good stat to justify the value of this craft. Spending a few more exalted orbs at this point, it's worth it, at least in my opinion. So I went ahead and bought 2 of them, one for each weapon, and both of them gave me a bad stat. Now, since we are too deep into this craft, I decided to move on and see what happens. One more bad stat and the weapons are headed right for the trash can, but maybe one good stat can save them. So, one more greater exalted orb, and one of them actually gave me percentage physical damage, which is an extremely important stat. The other one is going to trash since it now has 2 bad stats. For the final step, we want to buy a preserved jawbone that will allow us to choose 1 out of 3 stats to add to our weapon. So we use it on our weapon and travel to the Well of Souls. Press here, put your weapon inside and press reveal. One more tip for beginners, there are items that will allow you to control this mechanic quite a lot, but do not surprise, they will all cost you lots of currency. For example, there is an item that will allow you to re-roll these stats if you don't like them. Anyways, to keep the whole craft cheap, we went for the full gamble option and we just used it raw. Luckily for us, we hit a very high roll on attack speed, and now we can go ahead and max its quality and add 2 sockets. It is up to you which runes you want to use. I went for extra physical damage on this one. Then we check the price for a similar weapon, and as you can see, a similar weapon like this one will cost 15 divines or arguably even more. Before I close this video, I want to make it clear that this whole process is like playing the lottery. It only costs you $1 to play and it might give you millions, but most of the times you aren't gonna get anything. But if that's what you can afford, it is what it is. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If any of you know any tricks that you would like to share with us, please do in the comments down below. Leave a like and maybe a sub if you want to support this small channel. Thank you all for watching, have fun playing, and see you on the next one.